Hey guys, how's it going? Well, today is the day. We're going to embark on a project that's doing something that I've never done before in my life as an amateur mechanic. I'm going to rebuild a transmission, an automatic transmission. The one I'm specifically going to rebuild is a Chrysler, Mopar, Dodge, Plymouth, whatever you like to call it, A904 Torqueflite. This is a small Torqueflite that goes behind slant sixes and some V8s. It's very similar to the larger A727, B727. So, as I said, I've never rebuilt an automatic transmission, but I'm going to do it because mine's broke. It's got to be fixed. So, this is just going to be an introduction video. I'm just going to show you what I'm going to use to go by as far as instructions and supplies and tools and some methodology and suggestions. So if you don't want to listen to any of that, then I suggest you just go ahead and back out of this video, and you can start on the videos where I actually work on it. But for those of you who want to stick around, let's talk about this a little bit, what we're going to do and what we need to do it with. Like I said, this is a non-professional approach to this. I'm not a professional mechanic. I'm actually doing this in my own kitchen, as you can see. So I've had to rearrange my kitchen. I use half my kitchen as a shop area, and then I use the other part of the kitchen as the kitchen. So I've kind of ended up, my kitchen stuff has went that way and my shop stuff has went that way also, and now I'm about over to right here with stuff. So yeah, so anyway, I'm just doing this in my kitchen. So you guys that are amateurs like me, hopefully you can relate to this. It's easy to find videos where a guy's in a shop with unlimited access to tools and all kinds of expensive tools and things of that nature. So we don't have any of that. We've got to do this the budget way. First thing I did is I cleared off my areas. I've got my kitchen table here, and I've got my workbench here, and I've cleared off a couple areas to put two of these large drain pans. I got these at Walmart. They're about $11.97 each. They're metal drain pans, because rebuilding an automatic transmission is a messy job. No matter how long you let that thing drain. I've had mine sitting out in the garage out there on its end draining for 3 or 4 days now, and you know, as long as you let that thing drain, it seems like when you see people taking them apart that it still drips fluid out. So you know, I don't own this house, so I am not going to risk tearing the house up by getting transmission fluid on stuff or on my kitchen table. So that's a cheap investment. I've got one there and one over here. Now the table I'm using is the table I've been using for different things. This is my shop table. This is a cheap table I got at Walmart also for about, I don't know how much this was. It was maybe 30 something dollars. It's a folding plastic table. And this table's pretty sturdy, but that transmission is heavy, heavy, heavy. So I decided that the wise thing to do would be to take out a little insurance policy on this to keep it from collapsing. So I've brought in my metal stool that I sit on outside sometimes, and then I placed a spare jack that I had under the center of this table. So now this thing is nice and solid, because I'm not going and spending a buku money on a workbench just to do this job. So, and then the back here I have a sheet, that just a spare sheet that has seen years of use, and it's got from previous life of my parents. It's got a lot of smoke damage, cigarette smoke infusion, so it's now never going to be used as a sheet. So it is serving as a backdrop that goes down behind the table there, so in case something happens and transmission fluid or a part goes flying, it's going to go into that hopefully and not get into the paint on the wall. Now ideally you'd have a shop to do this in, or a garage space, but I have a garage, but it's not air conditioned, it's hot, it's dim. We're going to do it in here. So I've got my LED light that I bought at Lowe's a while back. I really like that thing. And so I've got good lighting. And what's going to happen is, this is going to be the surgery center here. All these supplies are going to be moved to another area here where it's convenient to me, but this is going to be cleared off. This will be the surgery center. This is where we're going to operate on the transmission right here. It'll fit on here well, and that's where we're going to do that. And then back behind me here is going to be where I'm going to lay my sub-assemblies out when I take them out of the transmission, which I've got, you know, you'll have things like a front pump, you'll have an input shaft, you'll have clutch packs, you'll have sun shells, gear train, all kinds of different things we're going to have to lay out here. So that's what we're going to use this for. That again will contain any kind of bleeding of transmission fluid, hopefully. Now then, show you the supplies that I'm going to start out using. I think I've got most of what I'll need here, and so as we go along, if I run into something that I'm going to need some other tool for, I'll let you know. So I suggest definitely when you watch these videos, I'll try not to make them into a zillion segments like I did some of my other ones, but when you watch these videos, watch them all the way through, because if you don't, if you follow along and you're doing the same step I am, and then I get to something I realize I'm going to have another tool for, then so will you. So watch them ahead of time. And again, I'm not a professional mechanic, so if I do something wrong and I have to go back and fix it, I'll show you that, because I want you guys to learn the same as I do. You know, that's just how life is. You know, you can do a professional type edited video and never show mistakes, but I don't believe in that, as long as you fix the mistakes. So here's what I'm using as my guide. This is my 1973, I guess it is, 74, 75 Chrysler factory service manual. This is the one that Chrysler published to help you and the shop mechanics in the dealership work on those cars, and it's got every single thing that you could possibly take apart and rebuild and overhaul and repair on those cars. I'm talking about A-bodies. Actually, I think this one covers it covers more than A-bodies, but that's no matter to us because we're strictly concerned with the transmission, but it does cover a lot of stuff. But these are very, very, very detailed manuals. Don't even attempt this job trying to use a Chilton's manual or a Haynes manual. You need to get yourself one of these. You can either get like a you can get an original like this one, or you can get one that's on CD. And then also ATRA sells, they're glad to sell you a transmission overhaul guide, either hard copy like this or on a CD or a DVD, as the case may be. So it's up to you. It's up to you whether you want to spend the money on one or the other, but have yourself some decent instructions ahead of time. Now, this one is so detailed it actually shows flow charts as far as hydraulic circuits and things like that. So it just goes on and on and on, and it gives you service diagnosis, tests, automatic shift speeds, and governor pressure chart, elements in use during different modes like park, reverse, neutral, drive second, drive low, and manual second, manual low. It's got all kinds of tests. It lets you test everything that you could possibly need to test. It even gives you transmission stall speed charts, which has been published on the internet several times as the gospel. I hope it is. Just on and on, guys. So what we're going to mainly be concerned about, we've already got the transmission out, so we're going to skip on past service in the vehicle, which means things you would do in the car, and we're going to go on to service out of the vehicle. Right, here we go. And you can see what it's got: assembly, subassembly, installation, disassembly. That's not necessarily in order. Reconditioned subassemblies: front clutch A904, front clutch A727, kick down servo and band, low reverse servo and band, oil pump and reaction shaft support A904 and 727, overrunning clutch, planetary gear train A904 and A727, rear clutch A904, rear clutch, on and on and on. So it just tells you everything. These things are, to me, these are invaluable. This is an invaluable guide to use on this. So we're going to follow along exactly how this tells us to do our procedures. Now, tells you to use a special stand. We're not going to do that because we don't have one, and that's the thing. I'm not rich. I don't have the money to go buy a lot of stuff like that, so we're going to have to take the cheap way out. Now, along in that same train of thought there, I've got several tools at my disposal, but I also went to Harbor Freight and bought some additional tools that I feel like I will need. And let me say up front that this is not a referendum on buying cheap tools. It's not a referendum on buying Chinese made tools. It's not a recommendation to do that. I have to buy what I can afford, especially when it is something that I'm only going to use, you know, once in a blue moon. So anyway, I understand a lot of guys are upset about, you know, NAFTA and the trade agreements with China and different things like that, but keep that out of this. I don't want to hear it. So if I had the money, I would go follow the Mac tool truck or the Snap-on truck around. I'd buy those American-made tools for the large amounts of money that they charge for them, but I don't have that kind of money, and I'm thinking that the people that are going to watch this video don't either, so we're stuck with Harbor Freight. That's how it is. So I've got a selection of first thing, I got a selection of snap ring pliers here with some different tips. Now we may get to a point these may not work. I may have to buy something better, but I'm going to try to use these. I have a clamp-on dial indicator. We're going to need that for I think about one step of this, and that's it, but I had to have it. I've got a set of locking C-clamps. You may not even have to have those. I've got a digital caliper measure with, may not need that. We've got a digital thickness gauge, sort of the same thing, but this is a little bit different. Now what these two things are for, just from reading my instructions several times through the book, you've got an automatic transmission has several different thrust washers, selective snap rings and things like that, and some of that you may need to measure just as a double check to see what you have. Now maybe not, but we'll find that out. You and I are going to learn together. So I've got my bright light, I've got my drip pan, I've got a new free flashlight, even though my old one still works fine, but I got this for free, so I'm going to use that also. I have several, mostly a whole pack of Ziploc type bags here. These are used to I put screws and bolts and different pieces in this, and then I label it with a Sharpie, because I'm not one of these guys that goes and takes all the bolts out and throws them in a bowl and then has to fish them back out. I ain't going there. We're not doing that. You can if you want to. If you do, good luck, man. I have my camera, digital camera, to take pictures so I know how things look when they come out, if I have any question on that. If I need to know where bolts go, I can take pictures, you know. So we got some tape to label with if I need to. Got a rag, probably need more than just one. I've got almost a whole box of these Grease Monkey vinyl gloves, which I don't think very much of because I've went through about half a dozen already. And also you probably will need to get a pen and pad somewhere to go ahead and make notes if you need to. Like one of the first steps we're going to do is we're going to have to take a measurement of the end play on the input shaft for this dial indicator. So you'll need to know that, so you'll need to record that. And I would suggest, I'm kind of OCD about stuff like this, so I'm afraid that if I put down on a piece of paper that I could lose that piece of paper. So probably what I will do is I'll probably write it down on a piece of paper, that measurement, and then I'll probably write it on a piece of tape and tape it up someplace in here. That's just how I am. So I know a lot of people like to play fast and loose with stuff like that, and they don't care. They're not worried about it, but I am. So I don't want to do this job again because it's cost me a fair chunk of money to do it, and I don't like pulling transmissions out of the car. I hate that. So I was forced to do this because the transmission no longer has third gear, so it has to be done. So, and I would suggest also that you need to make sure that you're in a position in your personal life to be able to do something like that. And what I mean specifically by that is if you're daddy and you got kids running around and kids are into everything and they're distracting and you're constantly having to mind the kids and the kids are going to be in your work area, I'd suggest not doing this, because you know you need to do this kind of work when you have peace and quiet and solitude, and you know you don't have people bugging you. Because I'm single, I don't have kids, but I've been around plenty of people who are married and have kids, and bless their hearts, but the kids and the wife never leave the guy alone. That's basically how it is. So you need to make sure that you're in a position to do this kind of work. Otherwise, I would not attempt it. You need to, have a good place to do this work. Don't do it out on the back porch. Don't do it out on your driveway. Don't do it in the rain. Don't do it, on and on. I would suggest that you do not drink alcoholic beverages while you're doing these procedures. If you do drink, wait till you're after hours. Wait till you're done with whatever you're doing, and then you can drink. Because if you get in here drunk, you're going to screw something up and it's not going to work right. And you're going to be mad. And, Now, I'm assuming that all the people who get impatient with me about me talking in videos have not watched this video, so that's probably no problem at all anyway. But the same suggestion I've been having to make goes on. If you're impatient and you just want to see somebody do it, and nobody talk, then you're probably not going to like these videos, because I'm going to take my time with this. I'm going to explain things as many times as I need to. Anything that's confusing, I'm going to explain it and re-explain it until we all understand it. So I have no patience with you not having patience with me, because I'm a company trainer and I have to train people to do things that they have no idea what they're doing to start out with, and you just have to make sure people get it. That's all there is to it. So don't even bother with the comments about you talk too much. You talked about this. Get over it. So anyway, guys, let's get on with this. I'm going to clear my space back off and arrange my tools, and in the next clip we're going to get this baby in here and we're going to take a look at it, and I'm going to go over the transmission, the external parts of it, what it is, what different things on the outside transmission are, and then we are going to start turning wrenches. See you there.